right. Welcome to another episode of the Business of Coaching workshop. I'm excited to have back with us Coach Anthony Diehl, founder and owner operator of Modus. Was it Move with Modus or Modus?
Yeah, it's we're saying either one of them. I
Okay.
think Move with Modus is kind of picked up, so we'll go with that.
For those that don't know, Anthony is also a former America's Strongest Man, competitive bodybuilder now as well, right?
That's right.
And now also working on, I'm assuming you're going to be building up to a marathon here at some point, if you
Yeah,
haven't
the
already.
Philly Marathon in November, actually, weekend before
Outstanding.
Thanksgiving.
And then obviously from a business perspective with Modus, I've actually watched you from behind the scenes grow in the last about a year and a half. You went from a little under 100 clients to now well over 250
Yep,
and
sounds right.
continuing to grow. We had Anthony on earlier this year to talk about social media and getting more clients. And I wanted to invite Anthony back because I think that you've had a bit of an aha experience over the last several months, moving from predominantly text-based feedback when you started with Turnkey Coach, and kind of always planted the bug that video feedback was really at the heart of Turnkey Coach. And I think it caught my attention because we had one of your clients sign up for a demo call with Turnkey Coach, and she mentioned that she just absolutely loved getting video feedback from you,
Right.
and to the point where then she wanted to explore using Turnkey Coach with her clients. And so I wanted to have you back on to kind of talk through what that journey was like for you, because I've heard this and even experienced it with our own coaches at Barbell Logic, that it's not intuitive that what all the benefits are from video feedback. And it's actually been over the course of the last few months, I've been trying to work on the pitch from my perspective to tell the story in a little bit better way, because where it initially I was really emphasizing the value of video feedback was in being able to cue the lifter, coach movement if they, from the videos that they upload. But what I think is really cool about your experience is that you have helped me appreciate the value of video coaching, even if they're not uploading a video.
Yes.
And for not just for the client experience, but also your coach experience in terms of amount of value you can add and efficiency. So without me continuing to put words in your mouth, I just wanted to take some time to have you on the show and kind of talk about what that was like, what it was like before, and when it kind of started to click, and then now getting to a point where you are on a similar page as I am, from what I understand, where it's like you can't stand doing any other type of coaching online.
Yeah, I won't do. I probably sent 30 videos today. Now I was resistant at first. Now my background's in operations,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm the king of Band-Aid solutions. I like to move fast and get stuff done. And even if it's like there's a better way to do it, I'm impatient. And so I don't want to like learn the better way. I get really fast at a bad way.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense. So I'm
Yep.
very hesitant to like slow down, but now I'm learning and I'm growing. And when I learned how to use the technology effectively, I realized right away, oh, I love this so much more. One, uh, it's so much better for the client, especially if you have to have a hard conversation, which as I've grown in my coaching, I have hard conversations all the time now. When you're a new coach, sometimes you default to just being a cheerleader because you're desperate and you're like, I don't want them to be mad. They're going to leave me.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm like, no, a good coach gets results. In order to get results, sometimes you have to just tell people what's up. But the beautiful thing about a video is they can read body language, they can hear tone, they can see your face. And so you can say a very hard thing that if you typed it out, it's dicey. You don't know how to interpret
Right.
it. But if you're my client and I say, Andrew, listen, man, I'm just going to be straight with you. The last 3 weeks, you've been at like 70% compliance on your diet. And just being realistic, that's fine if that's where you're at in this stage of life, but you cannot complain about the results you're not getting. That is not enough to move the needle. I really want you to be successful. So like we need to lock in. If there are some roadblocks that we need to overcome, if we need to tweak the nutrition or whatever a little bit, Let's talk through that, but I need you to do X, Y, and Z if we're going to get this result. Now, if I typed all that out, it's hard to say how they might interpret it. One, if I sat there and typed that out, it would take me a long time. It would take me longer to try and bake in the empathy and, make sure that they don't take this the wrong way. And you're still not, even if you crafted this perfect essay, you're still not going to hit the same level of value as if you just say it. And it took me, what, 25 seconds to tell you that? So it's efficient on my end, wildly efficient, and it's a better experience for you. So it's a no-brainer.
What was if you could just describe the resistance that you felt initially? I know you said you're the king of the Band-Aid solution. When you imagined it, like what was your perspective before you started using it about creating video feedback?
I'm not very techie at
Mm,
all. Okay.
mhm.
I my kids, my daughter is almost 13 and my son is 9, and they are both more technologically capable than I am. My son is explaining to me something about the DNS server and something the other day. I'm like, dog, you're talking to the wrong guy. Like, I have no idea. I don't know what you're saying.
Mhm.
And so it was trying to figure out, literally just, it was frustrating to just learn how to use it. And Mac showed me how to use it one day. Like, we were in person and he was like, no, literally, dude, click that button, do this thing, and then click that one. Because what had happened before was I was clicking the button, and then instead of clicking send, I was clicking stop, and then it was going up into I'm like, I don't know how to get it from there
Ah,
and send it.
gotcha.
This is pointless and it's driving me nuts. And I'm not going to sit here and figure it out. I'm just going to keep typing away.
Gotcha. Yep.
And so it was literally something as simple as, hey, let me show you how to do this.
Hmm.
But where I started leveraging it was I still defaulted mainly to typing, probably not because I was resistant, but just it's what I always did.
Familiar. Yep.
It's familiar. Yeah, yeah. But I would start sending more videos whenever I had to have the hard conversations. And
Yes.
now I'm to a point now where I hardly ever text. I
Yeah.
mean,
This is interesting you mentioned that evolution because I remember, and this is over a very short recent period of time. We're talking like literally the last, I think, 5, 6 months.
yeah.
I can remember talking to you about 6 months ago, and I think the light bulb had gone off about the empathy levels. In fact, I quote you all the time that you used at that time. I remember you saying I use text for low EQ scenarios. I use voice memo for kind of the next level up, and then I use video for the white glove full EQ experience, emotional quotient. And now it seems like even a few months later, you're like, so you appreciated the increased amount of emotional intelligence you could express, but now it's fully into not just that, but also that you're more efficient with it. And it's
Yeah.
like it's just cuts the time down on your side of the equation while increasing the value on the client side of the equation.
And I will say, I actually nobody has ever given me this feedback, but I've almost had to check myself a little bit and stop using videos so much, because the thing about a video is it requires them
Yes.
to sit there and watch it.
Right.
Whereas, so I will use videos. It is now standard practice for at Modus, all check-ins, like nutrition check-ins, they must be done via video. We do
Mm-hmm.
not do them written. Now, that's not to say if somebody asks a question that requires just a
Two
basic answer,
seconds.
or you
Yeah.
want to
Yeah.
send them a supplement from Amazon, you can't drop a link or say yes or no. But the response to the check-in is going to be via video.
Right.
And that's the most dense and where we're doing the most.
Mm-hmm.
But if there's other questions and I want them to have the ability to read my answer, the voice notes are fantastic because I get the same efficiency effect. They
Yep.
can't see me, but they can hear tonation and they can read the transcript if they're in a space where they can't play it. Because
Right.
I can't tell you the last time I've actually played anybody's voice notes, but now I've gotten my clients using them. In fact, I have some clients that almost exclusively check in via voice notes because it works for them.
I will say you have sent me voice memos via text, like on the phone, and I have actually listened to those because sometimes it's like, oh, something broke, or like I just want to hear like how pissed off you are, and so I'll listen for the extra data. I've come to know you now that that's not kind of how you operate, but
No,
yeah, it is interesting, 100%. And I've actually used because I'm kind of an engineer brain. The comparison between text, voice, and video in terms of how much data is transmitted per unit of time.
You shared that with me on the phone. That was eye-opening.
Yeah. So, text you're going to write, like you said, to write a thoughtful paragraph is only 5 or 6 kilobytes of data, but it's going to take you a good 10, 15, maybe 20 minutes.
Right.
And there is something interesting psychological I've noticed, that typing feels faster sometimes because you don't have that kind of like spool up of, okay, I got to put on the face and, be on camera. So sometimes I feel like it can get started faster, emotionally, from an emotional energy perspective. And sometimes I'll get tempted to start, but then you get in like sentence 2 or 3 and you're like, this isn't sounding right. And you're like, rewrite. And it's like, shit, screw it. I'm just going to do a video.
I do
But
that a
anyways, like
lot.
you spend that 30 minutes on a paragraph and, if it's requires some thought, and you're only still sending 5 or 6 kilobytes of information. Voice memo, now, like you said, you cut the time down and you add more value. You're in that 2 to 3 minute range. But then you add the video, you're up to 60, 70, 80 megabytes of data with all the other, the visuals, and a picture's worth 1,000 words. You do the math on 24 frames a second or whatever, and
Right.
you've sent 3 million words by the end of a 2 minute video, just to use kind of cheeky math there. But yeah, I do think there's that. So from a tech perspective, also, I think what we've actually invested a lot in trying to make it look simple, easier to use. Like we make that button now, it's like the first thing you see, record video, like click this button, and then on the send button, it's blue. It's got it looks like the button you're supposed to click.
Yeah. You gotta
So
make it grandma proof or boomer.
yeah.
That's where it's at. Here's a question
So
for you.
yeah,
Have
go
you
ahead.
ever, and this was actually a curiosity I had, um, do you ever get pushback from female coaches about doing videos? And all of our females have totally embraced it. They understand the value, the importance, they're on board.
Hmm.
But, women tend to care a little bit more. They're like, oh man, I got to be on video. I got to make sure my
Yep.
hair, my makeup's
Yep.
done. And I'm like, dog, I'll roll right out of bed. I don't have hair, so we're good. And like,
Yeah.
I'll come in from a workout shirtless and be like, yo, let's talk about this squat.
Well, we have a joke at Barbell Logic that there are camera on days and camera off days. So which is a feature that in the control panel you can turn the camera off. So, I think it's effectively like a voice memo. And again,
Right.
because at Barbell Logic, we're often providing movement coaching. So even if you don't have the little picture in the picture, there's value in, recording your screen and responding to their lifts and cueing them, or talking to them about their program. So, yeah, I guess that's the response that I would have, is that some people definitely, guys and girls, push back, or have described situations where they're sitting on the couch with a bowl of cereal or whatever on and they don't want to have the
Well, I mean,
camera
I
on.
will say I do build out my daily routine to where I have structured times set aside each day where I'm doing videos.
Yes.
And then there are times of day where I might have the laptop on the couch and maybe I'm updating programs, or maybe I'm designing programs, or I'm responding in another way.
Yeah.
But I have dedicated times where I do videos.
And I think that is the best practice. It's interesting that there was definitely a learning curve, and I think some people are still figuring this out, that there's something where, because it's online coaching or remote coaching, and you can do it in the comfort of your own home, that you can then be in your bathrobe,
Be unprofessional.
sprawled out on the couch. Yeah, be unprofessional. Exactly. Effectively is what's happening. And it doesn't click for some people that is making your workflow horribly inefficient. The quality of your work product is probably not as good. And, there are reasons to be professional, even if it's not because your boss at the office is making you do it.
That's right.
So I think everybody kind of has to go through that learning curve at some point to realize that, oh, I still benefit by having structured time planned out in a space that feels professional, where I can do my work efficiently. And I agree that, especially if you've got as many clients as you do, my recommendation is like 2 30 to 45 minute slots a day, one usually at the beginning, one at the end to do your
That's
workflow
exactly what I do. I'm usually
is,
like
yeah.
I'm up very early. I may
Hmm.
get up, coffee, read for a little bit, and then by 4:45, 5 a.m., from like 5 to 6, call it 5,
Hmm.
5:45, bunch of videos.
Yep.
And then I'll either go run, and then on my way to the gym a lot of times, because I live out in the country, so I'm 30 minutes from everywhere, I'll look up in the chats, and man, I'm sending voice notes like a fiend to and
Yep.
from.
Yep.
And so I'm just doing it throughout my day. Literally, right before I dialed on here, the reason I was like right on time, I was finishing up literally the last check-in of the
Hmm.
day that I'll do today.
Yeah. Yeah. I find that it has a couple of benefits. One, you've structured it in your day. You're not just slamming it in, on the fly. Although, like you said, some of the features allowed that to be done on the road. I do the same thing, but to at least have those focus times for efficiency, professionalism, and then also making sure you don't let it pile up too much. Because you start getting over 45 minutes, an hour of doing video feedback. You ever notice like you just kind
You
of,
get yes. Well, and I'll even do that too. I'll kind of triage. Let's say that I did this last night. We ate a little bit later. We got home, and my wife was like, "Hey, we got about 30 minutes till dinner." And I went upstairs, and I just literally scanned a bunch of the check-ins, and I was like,
mm,
"That one's gonna go quick. That's gonna go quick. That one needs a little more thought time." And I have like 18 hours. I'm not doing that one. I'm doing this and this. So I'll
mm,
self-select. Like,
mm-hmm,
for example, if I'm sending voice notes on the road, it's small things like, hey coach, I have a question about this thing really fast, and it requires very little thought or effort. But then if someone's like, hey coach, I'm going through this really hard marital strife, and my son just had this issue, and blah blah. Okay, well, I'm not going to rush that. Like, I'm going to just
right,
leave that one for when I'm
right.
in front of my computer and can
Yes,
kind of dig in.
totally do the same thing.
Yeah.
What are the reactions that you got from clients when you started doing more video feedback?
They
What's
all
the
love it.
Yeah.
Nobody has disliked it. Everybody
Hmm.
has really, really enjoyed it. Um, they just feel a much better connection.
Hmm. Yeah, I think the quote I heard from one of your clients was, "I feel like I'm having a conversation
Right.
with my coach, even though it's one way." But I will actually, I think I've mentioned this before. I'll hear from my clients that they talk back to me on the video,
That's
or like
hilarious.
their spouse will overhear them and like, "Who are you talking to?" "Oh, it's just talking back to my coach on the phone," and they send that
That-
as a comment.
That's
But
amazing.
um, on that, I wanted to go back to something you said about. I think this is another learning curve when people start doing it, doing video feedback. I've seen people think this is a more is better situation, and their first video is like 30 minutes.
Yeah, that's bad. I've had a couple coaches that tend to over-index where,
Yeah,
and I think that's a newer coach problem.
yeah, yeah.
Again, where it's one of those, and I've seen this, I experienced this when I was a young coach. It's like you've sent somebody the nutrition plan, things are going well, and they check in, and you feel like, well, I got to change something. I got to appear busy, like we're doing a thing to prove my value.
Right.
And I'm like, I'm at a place now. I told a guy today, responded to his check-in video. I think my reply was 1 minute and 45 seconds. So I was like, hey, brother, this is killer. Love this, X, Y, and Z. We're at a perfect rate of progress. You'll probably hit a wall here soon, but we're not there yet. No changes. I want you to keep on keeping on. If you have questions, to reach out to me. I love where we're at, man. Let's keep going. Bam, send.
Yep.
That's it.
Yeah, I really like to think of it similar to that progression from text to video in terms of value per unit time, but also from the coach perspective. But that's also from the client perspective. They are paying you for your experience as a professional. Yes, in part because of what you're doing in terms of feedback and the programming and direction, but they're also paying you, in a sense, this is like another form of professionalism, for all of your life experience
Mm.
to be distilled down into that 2 to 3 minute video, not just the 2 to 3 minute video. And I think asynchronous online coaching, whatever you want to call it, I'm actually getting tired of calling it online coaching. It's just coaching.
It's just coaching. I
It's
think
just
that
freaking coaching.
at this
It
point, I think it's better than in person.
I have made this case. I've been making this case for a couple of years. It took me a while because I used to get made fun of, and there's still sort of like this dirty word with online
But
coaching.
you're seeing people shift though. You're
Yeah,
seeing people like people that Dave Tate used to make fun of it.
yeah.
Now he highlights great online coaches, right? Like,
Because for a long time, and many people still see it and use it as like, oh, I'm just going to email you this Google spreadsheet
correct.
once a month, and maybe I'll respond to you on Instagram if you ping me. But
Right.
what we're doing, I think it just highlights even more what we knew with in-person coaching, which is that it wasn't just, and people talk about this all the time, like how much should I charge for my hour? And it would turn into, well, what's your hourly rate? And that became like, okay, well, if it's acceptable for me to think of my hourly rate as $80 an hour, then that's how much I should charge. But you're not just getting paid for your time. It's all of your life experience, all of your competitive experience, all of your professional development getting distilled down, because that is a skill
Dude, I
in
had this
itself.
conversation with one of my mentees yesterday. I said, "What are people buying when they buy coaching?" And they're sitting there thinking about it for a minute. And I'm like, well, they're buying a lot of things. They're buying all of your experience, but more importantly, like everything that we know, it's Googleable, it's researchable. You could go find it, but how long would it take you to learn it? And
Mm-hmm.
then wisdom is knowledge applied. So then how long would it take you to get all the experience that your coach has to
How many
actually apply the
mistakes do you
knowledge?
have to make? Yeah.
Right. So we're talking largely impossible. I mean, 15, 20 years, whatever, that they've been doing this. So you could go do that. That would take you a lot of time. So when you're buying coaching, you're taking this renewable resource money and you're exchanging it for their experience, and you're purchasing your time back. So you no longer have to go do that thing. You have a trusted resource, an expert. You go invest in your passions. The same reason that I have a tax guy. I could
Mm-hmm.
literally go learn all he knows. I don't have time for that.
Right.
And so instead, I'm just going to pay him dollars. He can feed his family, and then he's my resource. I'm paying for him for his expertise and wisdom and knowledge of the tax code. And in exchange, I get all that plus my own time back from having to do it myself.
Right.
That's the value exchange.
And I would say that is probably the learning curve I see coaches going through when they start doing video feedback, is feeling out where that line is. That said, I think experience has shown that the sweet spot is in the kind of 2 to 3 minute video on average. That said, I've made much longer videos than that, and I've made much shorter videos than that. But
Absolutely.
if you draw the bell curve out, it's probably on the tails 30 seconds to 8 minutes or so. But the peak is around that 2 to 3 minute range. And so that, there is a skill, I think, in getting comfortable hitting play and building your system for what it is that you're going to say. Although that can also be all over the place. Like, how many times do you just fire up the recording and start talking about the run you just went on, or
Oh yeah.
like,
Oh, I do it all the time. This
yeah,
is the reason why I think it's almost better than in-person coaching. In-person coaching's fine, but like you might see that coach for a segment of time where they're largely counting your reps and sometimes giving you form correction. And there's great in-person coaches. Don't get me wrong.
mm-hmm.
There's value there. But with my clients, I'm talking to them way more.
Yep,
I'm talking to most of them daily. Like our standard of service is I will always reply within 24 hours, Monday through Friday. And oftentimes I reply on the weekends. I would rather under promise and over deliver. So
yep,
we set the standard at 24 hours, Monday through Friday. And so when I'm sending these check-ins or voice notes, they don't need to be long because it's so organic. We're just having this ongoing conversation. Like I'm not
yes,
starting afresh and having to like build rapport and do small talk. I've been talking to this guy all week. Hey man, saw your check-in this morning. Great. Let's rock. Here's my thoughts. It's yeah.
So can I tell you the latest aha moment I had recently on that point is that I've been having a lot of conversations with coaches that are evaluating Turkey Coach, and they want to ask me about a check-in form process. How can I just create up a check-in form and send that out to all my clients? And I kept wondering, we don't have that ability. I mean, you can build it as part of the workout, but I was trying to figure out why I haven't felt that as a pain point as a coach for 10 years using predominantly Turnkey Coach. And I think it's because the check-in form solves a problem that doesn't exist when you do this style of coaching. because you're having the dialogue and the conversation with your clients with that kind of frequency, you no longer need the weekly form to be like, how's your energy level? What, some of your check-ins have that literally, like the energy
Oh
level,
yeah, I
bowel
build mine
movements, all
out.
this kind of stuff. But it's like in the workout. It's part
Right.
of the check-in. You don't need to have a separate Google form that gets sent to them that they fill out.
Correct. No,
It's
build it in.
built
Build
into
it
the
in.
relationship. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, my check-in under the fork and knife tab, and one of the things that I love about it is it's so customizable, and you can make things trends if you want. You can make them
Mhm.
metrics and stuff like
Mhm.
that, and you can customize them to the individual
Right.
because some people might need different success measures based on the stage that they're in,
Mm.
right? And so I think that's really cool too. But yeah, I agree. It's just an
Yeah.
ongoing organic conversation.
Yes. Love that. So we got a few minutes left here. I wanted to give you a chance to talk about, what's new and good with Modus. I mean, you have so many, and it seems like it's an evolving set of products and services. But we're
Yeah,
talking to coaches. You have educational content.
yeah,
You have coaching the coaches kind of material out there. What all
sure.
is going on with Modus, and what do you want people to know about you?
Yeah, yeah. Well, first off, our website is movewithmodus.com, so you can go check us out there. The big irons that we have in the fire right now, we just launched today, actually, a partnership with a series of gyms in Illinois where we're going to handle all of their online coaching for their clients. So that will be really cool. And we have another gym here locally where the gym owner wants to do the same thing with us. They want to offer this service to their members, but they don't want to fulfill on it. They just
Hmm.
want to partner with somebody that they trust. And so we've worked out that relationship. They can get an ongoing finder's fee essentially. So they can collect some money each month for doing exactly nothing except for letting us fish in their fishing hole,
Hmm.
and they'll market for us. So that's kind of cool.
Wow.
That's a great relationship. We are working. Right now, I have 3 different meetings set up with some primary care doctors around here, direct to primary care, who take a more functional approach. They're big believers in fitness and nutrition and lifestyle being the main levers you can pull for metabolic health. But being that they're doctors, they don't have the bandwidth to provide ongoing accountability and coaching and guidance.
Mm.
And so we want to establish a very similar thing where, hey, I can take my local clients who are like, I don't have a good doctor. Cool. You need to go see these 3. Pick one that's close to you and has availability. And then they can refer, let's say they've got folks coming in who are overweight. They can refer them to us. We can be their strength and nutrition coaching arm. So that's a great symbiotic relationship. We're working on expanding into group coaching.
Mhm.
So online, semi-private, we're playing with that. That is coming. Like it's happening. Um, we'll be speaking more about that in the coming weeks. We have a big offer we're getting ready to push to pastors of churches.
Mm.
Pastors and firefighters have some of the worst metabolic health in the country
Mm.
for similar reasons because they
Yep.
work largely sedentary jobs and have immensely high stress.
Right.
And the average pastor in the United States makes $60,000 a year, right? They're not all Joel Osteen's private jets and everything else flying around.
Mhm.
So it makes it hard for them to engage with us.
Mhm.
And I've coached a lot of pastors over the years who have engaged with me directly, and the common denominator between those pastors, they were former professors and college presidents, but they're college presidents, tenured leaders, and they're all a little bit older and established in life, and they can afford me. So I'm
Wow.
going, all right, this is a problem. So how can we come alongside and solve that problem? So we've been meeting with multiple different people. So we're coming up with a special offer called Lead Strong for that. So we've got a ton of interest in that. Still tweaking some details and figuring it out. The thing that we need to figure out is it essentially they'll end up coming in. It'll be like a group coaching. It'll be networking for them with the ability to add things on like twice annual blood work reviews, things like that. We'll have an open office hours. So it'll be like a group coaching model. What we're trying to figure out what's wise is they need to pay something. They have
Yeah.
to be invested. If you don't pay, you don't
Yep.
pay attention. So it
Right.
can't be a freebie.
Right.
We need to make money. Otherwise, it's not a viable option.
Hmm.
So we've got some ideas worked out. One of the key leaders I was talking to, I coach him. I have coached him in the past. Zane Pratt. He's an awesome guy. He's the head of the International Mission Board for the Southern Baptist Convention. He's almost 70 years old, and he's a power lifter and an absolute stud. And he was saying that their missionaries actually have to make weight before they go back onto the field. And the reason for that is there is no insurance organization in their right mind who would ever insure these people who are going to third world war-torn countries. So they pay for all of their healthcare expenses out of pocket. So they have height and weight requirements because they're Southern Baptist. They don't drink and smoke. That's great for metabolic health, but they have nothing in the way of nutrition or strength training guidance to these people. They just make weight, BMI. And it's like, if we could come alongside, the SBC would probably literally pay for us to provide our services, especially if it could be demonstrated that this drives their overall healthcare costs down, because they pay a lot of dollars every year in healthcare costs. So so we're doing a lot of different things right now. A lot of irons in the fire. And
I love how you frame it as like identifying problems and then building solutions. That's like the heart of entrepreneurship. And if you're out there coaching, that you kind of we all have to at some point get into that mindset. And I'm excited too, because we're going to be working together on building out some pricing that helps you be a little bit more flexible. I mean, for those that know Turnkey Coach, we're all seat-based pricing, which we really built because, speaking of problems, we saw that most of the software solutions out there have these tier-based pricing, which makes sense from a business perspective, because, if somebody signs up and they only have one seat, it's an easy way to make a lot of money per client that the coach is using. And we thought it would be nice to scale as the client's business scales. But then we've also noticed there's a tipping point in there where if a business gets as large as yours and wants to start offering more flexible services, that seat-based pricing kind of starts to not make as much sense. So we're going to be working with you and John Flagg and a couple others that have really grown on the platform to build custom pricing so that you have the ability to do a really low price option. And maybe you're not doing tons of video feedback, which is where most of our cost gets, along with the dev team. But just from an operational cost perspective, the video hosting ends up being a big piece of that. So, excited to help solve problems for you as well.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. And, something you said there just a couple seconds ago, you kind of glided over it. But one of the things we talk about big time in the mentorship, so I didn't even mention that, we have a mentorship for coaches looking to try and grow and scale their business, and folks that just have no idea how to even build a business plan. They have no idea what their niche is or avatar. One of the things we talk about in crafting your offer is too many coaches are product centric. And in this business, you can't be product centric. You don't build this product and be like, hey, buy my shiny thing. No, what you do is you identify problems in your niche, and then you come up with offers that fix and solve those problems. And then you speak directly to those people. That's how you actually grow and scale. Not because what is every coach out there on Instagram saying? One-on-one coaching, nutrition guidance, 24/7 access, app, but cool. We can all say that. And that's why people struggle, is because they're a commodity and they're commodity priced. And so what do you do when you're a commodity? If you go to the grocery store and you see Kellogg's Rice Krispies for $6 a box, and then you see puffed rice for $2 a box, it's the same thing. You're buying the $2 a box. So I don't want to be a commodity.
Yeah. And if for coaches that are interested in that mentorship program, is that also on the Move with Modus website?
That's not right now, but you could reach out to me directly. It will be eventually. I take applicants kind of on a case-by-case basis. What I don't want, frankly, is people thinking this is a get-rich-quick scheme. And we don't talk about fitness and nutrition at all in the mentorship. It is 100% about business and the business of coaching. So I also kind of want to vet people to be like, there needs to be a base level of knowledge. I don't want to help somebody who's, you have other things to work on first.
Yeah, it's kind of funny how the online coaching we're talking about how a lot of people think of that as a dirty word. I feel like business coaching is starting to get into that dirty word area where it's like, okay, everybody that's ever done any business is offering a business coaching.
Well, it is. No, it is. And I've seen it and I'm like, okay, how can I set this apart and be more? Because I think, I had initially titled it was like the name of the program is Momentum. And then it was like Road to Six Figures, because making $100,000 in online coaching is like 30 clients a month at $275.
Mm-hmm.
That's not that hard. Though that may sound daunting. I say that's not that hard, but I should look back and remember where I started. It's hard if you're first starting.
Yep.
I've actually changed the name of that because I don't want to create this false promise. I do think a good coach with good systems and a good plan can get there. You can. Are you going to get there in 6 months? Probably not. But I do feel like I was blessed by having a decade plus in the corporate world where I led people, led teams, managed P&Ls, and like understood systems and processes and operations. And then I just applied that to my coaching, and that helped me so much. And along the way, I'm 11 years into coaching now. If there's a mistake to be made, I've made it. And how this even came about is I've been doing one-off consultations with people for 3.5 years of them just saying, hey, can I pick your brain about this particular thing in my business? And oftentimes they would come to me and ask a question, and I would realize immediately they're asking the wrong question. They think they need to solve this, but at root, it's back here. And then we dive deep. And then one day, one of the girls I was talking to was like, why don't you just like develop a curriculum of stuff? And I just kind of stewed on that and was like, what would I do if I was starting over again? Where would I start? And that's where it started.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I think I don't think it's easy, but I think it's simple. You know, we talk about this within Barbell Logic, that getting stronger is simple, hard, and effective with training with barbells. And, we've expanded from barbells, obviously, but the process of getting stronger is not easy, but it's simple.
Correct.
But from your perspective, being on the other side of getting to 100K and beyond, is that in hindsight, it's easy. But like you said, from somebody who hasn't gone through it, isn't able to identify those simple things. And what's challenging before going through it, I mean, this is true for any coaching. I mean, the value of what a coach provides, I think, is if you haven't gone through it before and you don't know what the process is, it's impossible to distinguish from something that you're working on that is effective or not effective. And so you can be expending what feels like an enormous amount of energy, and you have zero confidence whether it's the right thing or not. And you don't know whether you're just, and especially when now you go online and, listen to Hormozy or all these people like never give up, just, keep nose to the grindstone. But if you are literally wasting your time, I don't know, tinkering with some page buried in your website, you're never going to get out. You're never going to.
We talked about that. Actually, I was talking about that with a girl who was applying just yesterday for the mentorship, and we were digging in, and I was looking at her social media, and we were talking about different types of social media. And I kind of break it down into a 20, 60, 20 split. And I've only started doing this in the last year. I've only started making better content, and I still have room to grow. I know what I need to grow on. But like my top of funnel posts, my middle funnel posts, and my bottom of funnel with direct CTAs. And I'm getting better at that stuff because I have to if I'm going to grow at the scale that I want to grow at. And like she didn't even have a concept of what those things were. And I'm like, when you are Tony Robbins, when you are Alex Hormozy, you can say, just try hard. Mm-hmm. Because you have a boatload of authority. When you don't have authority, I'm like, I don't even have the authority for that. So I don't make those sorts of posts, right? And like you have these awareness-based posts where you maybe just data dump, but then you also need to tell effective stories. And then you need to solicit emotion. Then you need to demonstrate your results. And then you need to make an ask. And you need to do that repeatedly, systematically, thoughtfully, making sure and keeping in mind your avatar. So don't speak to how many coaches have you seen who they say that they just want to help the working mom, but they just went through some online or some great coaching certification and they're talking about pushing their hips, posteriorly through the sagittal plane. You're like, the working mom doesn't care about that, and she doesn't know what you just said. Just tell her to push her butt back.
Yeah,
you're right. So those are the kind of things that we talk about, and then we get into the systems and processes. And I always push you guys too. When we get to systems, I'm always like, all right, guys, we talk about order fulfillment, right? Like, okay, how are you going to fulfill on this offer? Someone just purchased it. what are the tools that you use to fulfill? And I'm always pushing
Awesome.
turnkey in there. So
Appreciate that.
yeah,
Awesome, man. Well, we are 10 minutes over, but I really appreciate the time and the conversation. Always invaluable perspective and a great way. You have a great way of communicating and articulating things. So thank you again for
yeah,
taking another 40 minutes out of your day, and we'll let you get back to it. Thank you all
awesome.
also for joining another episode of the Business Coaching Workshop. If you are interested in learning more about Turnkey Coach or whether or not it could be the fulfillment solution for you, you can schedule a free discovery call with either me or Mac at turnkey.coach/BOCCALL. That's turnkey.coach/BOC call. We will see you again next week.